Welcome, everybody, to the Scoundrel's Den. I hope you're all having a lovely day. It is a good day in Wild Rifterland because Katarina has been released. And Katarina is a very, very interesting champion. She's very high skill. She's super fun to play. And I think a lot of people really enjoy playing Katarina. You often get a lot of Katarina one tricks because she's a very intricate champion. And a lot of people play her at a very high level. And she's actually quite difficult to get into. So hopefully this guide is going to help you break down the basics of Katarina so that you can go and play her and enjoy her. And potentially look to expand on this guide and become a better Katarina player. We're going to cover her item builds, her runes, her abilities, her ability combos, and any counters and any good matchups that Katarina has in the current meta. So, if you want to skip to any point in the video, timestamps in the description below. Now, we are closing in on 100,000 subscribers. Every day I wake up and I see the amount of support that I'm getting on my videos, and it really makes me happy. I have been doing this for 3 years. I really would love to make YouTube a more full-time thing for me. Obviously, this really depends on the success of Wild Rift at the moment, but a lot of the support that I'm getting from you guys is still making me, keeping me motivated and keeping me happy to keep going on with the videos, trying to get them out at least once every 2 days, trying to do daily, but with work and baby and family, sometimes it can be a little hard. But you guys have really honestly just been amazing for me. And, all the support that you're giving myself, all the support you're giving other Wild Rift content creators like Stuart and Hell's Devil is awesome. So I really do appreciate every single one of you. And thank you so much for liking my videos and commenting, because it means more than you think to creators. A simple like, if you like the video, a creator will look at their stats and think, oh my God, I'm really happy with how this went. So it genuinely means more than you think to have a like and a comment on a video. Even if you think it's like not noticed, it really is. It really is. And also thanks to G2A for sponsoring the channel, reference link in the description below. So also to celebrate being so close to 100,000 subscribers and also the release of Katarina, I'm going to give away 10,000 wild cores. I'm going to be giving them away in separate giveaways though. So what I'm going to be doing is the biggest feedback from my last giveaway was that you had to have Twitter and you had to have YouTube. And a lot of my YouTube subscribers didn't have Twitter. They didn't want to get Twitter. And I fully understand that. So what I'm doing this time around is I am doing 3 separate giveaways. I'm doing one for Instagram, one for Twitter, and one for YouTube. Now, YouTube will have the biggest time period. All of the giveaways will be drawn next, what's the date today? Thursday, so a week's time. So all the giveaways will be drawn next Thursday. But on YouTube, I'm going to give away 5 sets of 1,000 wild core prizes. So 5 winners, 1,000 wild cores to choose from each. Obviously, I can't give you the wild cores directly, so I'll be giving you the option to buy anything in the game, which I will gift you for 1,000 wild cores. All you need to do to get involved in the YouTube giveaway is like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And then what I'll do over the next week, every single video will count. So be aware, every video that I publish over the next week, if you leave a comment on, you get another entry. You can enter up to 7 times over the course of the next week by leaving a comment on every single video. So like, subscribe, leave a comment, and then I will draw from the videos 5 winners based on a random comment from a random video throughout the week. So if you comment on every video, you have the highest chance of success. One of the things that we found from the last giveaway is everyone commented on the first video, but then they didn't comment on the second and the third video. So you had a much higher chance to win if you were commenting on the second and the third video. So 7 days, 7 videos, hopefully 7 videos. If not, just comment on as many videos as I publish throughout these next 7 days, and that will increase your chances of entering into the giveaway. For Twitter, I'm going to make a tweet. I'm going to make a tweet that just says, I'm giving away 3,000 or 3 times 1,000 wild cores, any gift of your choice. All you need to do is retweet the tweet, like it, and follow me. And then I'll do a simple, random giveaway draw from anybody that retweeted the comment. On Instagram, I'll make a post, and all you need to do underneath the post is comment on it and follow my Instagram page, and I'll do the same thing on the Instagram giveaway. So Instagram will have 2 sets of 1,000 wild cores, Twitter will have 3 sets of 1,000 wild cores, and YouTube will have 5 sets of 1,000 wild cores, equaling 10,000 wild cores in total. You can enter each of those giveaways separately. So I am not going to punish you for having Twitter and YouTube this time around. In fact, you just get to enter in 2 separate giveaways, and you can win both of them, and including the Instagram giveaway as well. So if you're really lucky, you could win One from Instagram, one from Twitter, and one from YouTube. I'm not going to punish you from wanting to participate in as many of my giveaways as possible. The reason I've separated it is that if you don't want to get Twitter and Instagram, you're not punished this time, but you obviously won't get access to the full set of giveaways that I'm doing. So that is all of the info about the giveaways that will end next Thursday in a week's time. All of the links to my social media channels are in the description below. So Twitter and Instagram are both there. I will also put them in the pinned comment for you down below, and I'll make it very obvious, and I'll link the tweet and the post that you need to interact with on those social channels as well. And of course, with YouTube, it's a little bit more simple. Just leave me your comment. Now, the comment can be anything, but my question of the day is, do you think Katarina will be good, and why? I'd like to hear if you think she'll be good or bad in the meta, and I have my own opinions just based on what I know from PC, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Cool, let's jump into the guide. Okay, first of all, let's talk about Katarina's build paths, because she is quite a flexible champion, especially when it comes to build paths. She's got some AD scaling and some AP scaling. There is a very real possibility that we could see some AD Katarina, but I think it's a little bit more difficult with the way that she's currently played. She's probably best suited to strictly AP or hybrid style build paths. The first one that I want to talk about is what I think could be one of the stronger builds for Katarina. She's primarily an assassin. So she functions very similarly to the likes of Evelynn, where it's all about getting kills. And it's not that much about kind of like being a sustained damage source, because Katarina's ultimate, even though she can move around it on Wild Rift, she is extremely weak to hard CC. Any form of hard CC kind of cuts Katarina's kit in half. And so therefore, I think that, with the current meta being very heavily favored by things like Shyvana, Gragas, Malphite, Alistar, all of these champions are really good against Katarina, and therefore going for a more sustain heavy build like Hextech Gunblade, I think is great if you're in like 1v1 and isolated fights, or you're jumping in after all the CC has already been used. But for the most part, I think you just need stuff that's going to help you burst champions as quickly as possible. So I think a build path that can work quite well on her is going to be Infinity Orb. The Infinity Orb first item is a good first item spike. It is about 400 gold cheaper than any other item spike that you can feasibly get with Katarina, including Gunblade and Liandry's Tournament. And that's going to allow you to essentially be much more threatening at first dragon fights, which is obviously where a lot of early fighting takes place. You can jump in. If people are going low on HP, you can clean them up really quickly with your ultimate. I think Infinity Orb is probably going to be one of the best first items for Katarina. I think Liandry's will be a great choice for her as well, as a second item into Rabadon's Death Cap. Following that, it really depends on what you need. You could go for Gunblade, Hextech Gunblade if you wanted to. You could go more down a Ryalize build path to give you some extra health and some slowing capabilities. Obviously, the standard combo that I always just put in towards the end of the game is a Morellonomicon for Grievous Wounds, and then you have your Void Staff for penetration. But I think an Infinity Orb first item would be a good shout for Katarina, but it's not the only way you can build her. In terms of runes, especially for mid lane, I think Electrocute's the best rune for you, mainly because you're looking for short, burst-heavy trades. You're not looking to get involved in a longer trade, especially pre-5 with a lot of people in lane. You're just looking to burst and get out as quickly as possible. Brutal, because you want that early damage. I think Brutal is better than Gathering Storm in every way, shape, and form. And I think the Hunter runes, whilst they're good, like Hunter Vampirism, I think probably is a little bit too high risk, high reward for Katarina. And I go for Regeneration and for Honey Fruit. Why do I go for Regeneration and Honey Fruit? Because you have a really crappy laning phase versus ranged matchups in mid lane. Katarina can be played Baron lane and mid lane realistically, but in mid lane she has a lot of really tough matchups, and she's not as easy to navigate as something like Fizz. Katarina does have to be a little bit more careful in that laning phase. So Regeneration means you're always regenerating health because Katarina doesn't have mana, and Honey Fruit means that you're going to have the extra sustain in lane if you need it. And obviously you go for Ignite Flash. Another build that I thought about, which is potentially more suited towards the Baron lane, is Hextech Gunblade into Infinity Orb. So it's a little bit slower, but Hextech Gunblade gives you a bit more sustain. It gives you the magical and the physical vamp, and you deal a little bit of both damage as Katarina, so I think that probably works out. And then you go for a more tanky, kind of like control-heavy build towards the end with the Liandry's and the Ryalize. Another build that could potentially work out, and with this build I think Conqueror is okay because you are looking for the elongated trades, especially if you're going Baron lane. I think Baron lane is better suited to having Conqueror, especially with the types of champions that you're going to face up. And I've gone for Hunter Titan, but again, Regeneration could be also pretty good. And one final build path that I think is worth testing out is This is like an old school Katarina build from the PC version. Probably not super relevant, but I think it's worth giving it a go with the way that Ryle Eyes and Leandri's are in this particular game. You go Leandri's first item to give you a bit more health, but also some control in teamfight situations. You're going to go Leandri's second to synergize with the Ryle Eyes, and then you go towards Rabadon's, Infinity Orb, and also Void Staff. Not sure it's going to be good enough. I'm putting it in here as a potential to test. Again, we don't exactly know what's going to be good for Katarina. I personally think that Infinity Orb first will be a good shout because Katarina is very snowball heavy, and so first Dragon Fight is a cheaper item to get your hands on, gives you some magic penetration, some flat magic penetration, and also is going to allow you to execute low HP targets, which allows you to just cycle your abilities much more quickly. And I think that's going to probably be one of the better first items for Katarina to consider. Again, lots of options though with Katarina, and I think it's going to take some testing to find out what works well, but I genuinely do believe Infinity Orb is going to be a relatively good first item choice for you guys wanting to try Katarina in the current meta. So there is a fairly standard and accepted build path for Katarina where you always max your first ability, followed by your third ability, and then your second. Now clearly, obviously, as always, you put your point in your ultimate whenever you can. There is a fringe Katarina build that is sometimes picked up, I guess, for the extra mobility, where you max your third ability, followed by your first ability, and your second ability last, but I won't put that in because the majority of Katarina players generally tend to max their first ability, followed by their third, and then eventually their second. So this is the accepted and relatively tried and tested build path for Katarina. Let's look at Katarina's abilities, starting with her passive, Veracity. Takedowns on enemy champions reduce all ability cooldowns by 15 seconds. Katarina slashes at all nearby enemies whenever she picks up a dagger. A dagger is part of her kit that we'll talk about in a moment, dealing 279 magic damage, which is 240 plus 100% of your bonus AD plus 100% of your AP. So again, some of the scaling capabilities of Katarina in action here. So yes, she does a lot of damage, a lot of mixed damage, but it is dealing magic damage first and foremost here. Now her first ability is a Bouncing Blade. Throws a dagger, dealing 207 magic damage, 195 scaling with 30% of your AP, to the target and 2 nearby enemies. The dagger then ricochets to the ground behind the initial strike point. So, the dagger's time in the air is the same regardless of how many times it bounces. So at level between 1 and 4, the cooldown goes down by 3 seconds and the base damage goes up. So you get a cooldown reduction and the base damage goes up. Let's show you that in action. So I'm going to bounce it to one target, and it bounces behind the ricochet point, as you saw there. Okay, so that is the first one. Let's do it with more targets now to show you bouncing. So again, I'm going to show you here. 1, 2, 3, and it bounces behind the initial strike point. So I'm going to show you that in action again on another target. It will bounce behind this target. It will bounce behind the target I'm focusing here. So watch this. 1, 2, 3, and it bounces behind that target. If I were to do it to the target at the end, it will bounce behind that one, despite bouncing to 3 targets. So if I do it to this target here, 1, 2, 3, and it goes behind. One thing that you'll notice is that it still lands on the floor at the same time, regardless of how many targets that it bounces on. So there is no disadvantage to bouncing it between targets. The dagger will still land on the floor. And to illustrate her passive in motion, I'm going to pick up a dagger, and I'll deal damage in a small area around me when I pick up that dagger. So again, 1, 2, 3, and if I want to pick up that dagger, boom, little damage in an area around me. So that is the essence of the first ability, but of course, Katarina is all about combinations, so let's talk about her second ability. Katarina's second ability is relatively simple to get your head round. It's called Preparation, and it throws a dagger in the air, and it also gives Katarina some movement speed. It says hastes Katarina, but it's really just giving her some movement speed. The reason you max this last is you don't really get much else other than some extra movement speed and a cooldown reduction on this ability, but this ability is more for comboing. It's not really an ability that's going to implement, or rather influence the way that you play the game massively so. So it is very, very simple, as you can see. Throws a dagger, it lands exactly where Katarina is for the time being, and she just then picks it up. She gets a little bit of movement speed off the back of it as well. But it's one of the things that you do with Katarina is often what you'll do is you'll set this dagger up, you'll then do this, and then with some of the other combos that you can pull off, you can do like a very standard combo and get out relatively quickly. So I'll talk about it a bit more after we've talked about the third ability, because the third ability is what brings all of her combos together. Katarina's third ability is called Shun Po. Blink to a location near a dagger or unit, dealing 139 magic damage to the nearest enemy. Picking up a dagger greatly reduces the cooldown of Shunpo. And you'll notice that the cooldown goes down by a significant amount, the number of points that you put in it, and the base damage also goes up a decent amount too. So I'm going to show you that in action. You can do it directly to a target, but the full cooldown will still apply. One of the things that you're supposed to do with Shunpo is this. So this is the basic combo that you pull off. You could do it just like this. So you bounce to the dagger like this, and Shunpo is up again already. You can bounce back onto them. So this is a very basic combo that you can pull off. And again, I'll show you once more. You're in range to use the dagger. You Shunpo to the dagger, and then you Shunpo to them. There's a little bit of extra damage off the top. But really, the way that you're supposed to combo with Katarina to keep yourself safe is you drop a dagger, you throw Bouncing Blade, you bounce to this, and then you bounce to this. And it just gets you out, okay? I didn't really pull off the combo particularly well there. But again, this is what makes Katarina quite a hard champion to play. So again, you're running at an enemy. You drop a dagger, you throw Bouncing Blade, you dance, you hit some basic attacks, and you get out, basically. And then that's difficult for the enemy to trade into because you have an exit point and an entry point. Your entry point is the dagger, your exit point is obviously the dagger that you dropped. So this, like that. You pick up a dagger, like that. So you don't actually necessarily need to bounce to the dagger to deal the damage. What you can do is, again, I'll show you once more. Drop the dagger, do this. You can bounce the enemy, pick up the dagger behind them, and then back out. And it's difficult for an enemy to trade against that because it's a relatively simple combo to pull off, and it's just an in-out play, and that's what makes Katarina quite good at trading in lane. You have to be very quick to understand how to play against this because, again, she picks up the dagger and then jumps in. You should really try and be super aggressive using the haste that you get from your second ability. So it really should be a case of like run, do, pick up the dagger with the haste, and then bounce back. I didn't actually pick up the dagger there, but you get what I'm going for. I'll try it one more time. You should really be using the haste to get the dagger behind the enemy. So ding, 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 and then ding. There we go. That's a really, really simple combo for Katarina. W to set up your second ability to set up your escape point. First ability, Shunpo, pick up the dagger, Shunpo back out again. And it's very difficult to trade against a Katarina when they do something like that. I'm going to apologize if you can hear any drilling in the background right now. I'm at my parents' place as we're moving house. They're having some work done to an upstairs bathroom. So, look, I'm going to show you one of the things that Katarina is weak against. There you go, right there, hard CC. So, I don't need to show you much more than that because obviously like that kind of illustrates it. But really when I talk about counters for Katarina, we're talking about things like Malphite. We're talking about things like Alistair, Shyvana. Anything that can apply hard CC makes it very difficult for Katarina to get an ultimate off. And even though you can move in your ultimate, it's still very easy to apply hard CC to Katarina. So I think that, the current meta is not... I don't think the current meta is particularly suited to Katarina in terms of being able to apply hard CC. But what I do think suits Katarina is obviously these messy fights that you get around First Dragon. Okay, just some little tips for playing against and with Katarina. When you're playing as Katarina, you need to wait for crowd control before using your ultimate. The obvious things like headbutt, pulverized combo from Alistair, Malphite ultimate, Shyvana ultimate. Just make sure the big ones that are really obvious are used before you actually engage your ultimate, because otherwise you'll be useless. You need to try and pick off low HP targets first, and you can get to them relatively easily by using Shunpo. Never engage a fight first unless you're trying to catch someone out. If you're trying to go into a team fight first as Katarina, you're just going to get killed. It's simple as that. Unless you're really strong and you can kill someone instantly, you should not be looking to engage a team fight. And you have to be careful in the early lane versus ranged matchups. They can bully you very hard. Until you have all of your abilities unlocked at level 3, it can be quite difficult to actually look for any kind of meaningful engages. When you're playing versus Katarina, definitely save crowd control for her ultimate. If you're against a Katarina, make sure you're saving something back so she can't get a full ultimate channel during a team fight. You want to push her under tower early to deny her as much farm as possible. She's not particularly good at farming under tower. Stasis Enchant is good for negating her ultimate damage, and Guardian Angel denies her resets cooldown. If she kills someone in Guardian Angel, she does not get resets for her abilities. Okay, so there are some variations of the combo that I've shown you already in the abilities. The one that I've shown you is I'm out of range of Bouncing Blade right now, but I'm going to use the haste from preparation to set up a Bouncing Blade and have a really, really defensive combo exit. I did not mean to tap my ultimate there. So again, out of range of Bouncing Blade, but I'm going to use the haste. To get in range, I'm going to pick up my blade, I'm going to back out, and it's a much further exit range from preparation. The other combo, which is pretty much the same thing, but you're just changing the order of your first two skills, is use Bouncing Blade first, then Preparation, then Dive, and then Dive again. You don't have as long exit range, but it is much more instant and much harder to trade against. So again, I'll show you again. Bouncing Blade Preparation, Dive, Dive, Dive. Much harder to trade against and much more instant. There is another combo. which is a little bit more offensive if you're going all in. Balancing blade, Shumpo, pick up the blade, preparation, Shumpo, pick up the blade, Shumpo. Okay? You got 3 Shumpo resets. That's 3 Shumpos in one engage. Balancing blade, Shumpo, the reduction is down. Shumpo again, pick up the blade, Shumpo once more, boom! Huge damage, and I just feel like a copy Tails Devil with the boom, but it feels like a boom. Pick up the blade, Shumpo, preparation, pick up the blade, Shumpo, Shumpo. That is a all-in single target damage combo that you can use with Katarina. Now, Shumpo can also be used with preparation in another way, and that's to actually hop over walls. So one of the cool things that Katarina can do with the self-setup Shumpo is you can actually teleport over walls with it. So watch this. Like this. There you go. You can use the Shumpo to actually set up the go over walls. It's not entirely useful all the time, but it can be very useful. You don't even need to wait for the dagger to land. You just need to do it immediately, and you can get over the wall. You don't need to set up. I mean, you can obviously set up like this, and then go in and go like over the wall like that. You're just going to make sure that the cursor is lined up like this. You can see the cursor has to be lined up on the other side, and you can get over the wall like that. So you can do it long range, or you can do it short range. So one of the things that is worth noting is that if you're setting up an escape dagger here and something goes wrong, you can immediately jump over to the other side of the wall by ensuring that that small cursor is on the furthest side of the dagger that is in the wall, like this. Okay? However, as I said before, you don't actually need to wait for the dagger to land. You can just do it immediately. So you can actually just set up wall jumps immediately by pressing second ability and immediately casting over the wall with your third ability. It's a really cool way to get Katarina to do some pretty sick wall jumps, which can be a good way to get her into a fight, or can be a good way to escape a situation. You can even set up a tower dive like this. It's not something that every Katarina player will know, especially from the release, so this is a good bit of information that you should be using to your advantage. Finally, just with her ultimate, if you're using it and you flash, it cancels your ultimate. So you can't channel your ultimate outside a team fight and flash in, because it just cancels it. The other thing that's worth noting, you can't use Zhonya's when you're in your ultimate either. It doesn't channel through your Zhonya's, so that's a bit annoying also. But it will hit anything that is close to it, including stealthed and camouflaged champions. And so obviously you have the ability in teamfights to be more effective in that way. What I would say is that although that is a part of her kit that I think is good, she still doesn't have great matchups into things like Akali, because Akali can out-trade her in a melee matchup over and over and over again. Like Akali is actually a really good pick into Katarina in the laning phase especially. And also Akali can just dash away from your ultimate with her own ultimate as well. Evelyn can also apply her a charm to you and also can use her ultimate to get out of your ultimate range also. So, some of these matchups where that might be useful is not so useful in terms of like true counters in the game. But anyway, that's my entire Katarina guide. I haven't included everything because honestly, Katarina is one of those champions that requires a massive amount of mastery to play well. But hopefully it gives you a good start and you can start playing this champion and enjoying her because she's really fun to play.